Thank you for joining us, everyone. Welcome to our weekly media briefing and public health update with Montgomery County Executive Mark Elridge. I'm Lorna Virgilia, Hispanic Public Information Officer, and joining us today is Dr. James Bridgers, who is the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as Dr. Nina Ashford, Chief of Public Health Services. And our special guest this afternoon is Heather Brosking, who is the Director of the Office of Food Systems Reliance. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon, Mr. County Executive.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And I think, as you know, this afternoon, the House of Representatives is meeting to vote on ending the federal shutdown. The Senate-led agreement, which has the White House blessing, ignores the catastrophic implications of legislative proposals that threaten our community and, frankly, much of the nation. We need a continuing resolution, once again, that genuinely addresses the healthcare crisis. Failing to act now means we face an impending explosion of cost of health insurance for many Americans and those who depend on help from the government. The rising costs associated with the Affordable Health Care Act premiums, allowing them to expire, is going to impact every family trying to make ends meet. And for some families, it could mean being asked to pay 50% of their income toward healthcare or worse. Seeing millions of people nationwide choose to forego healthcare coverage is a real risk. I think about Montgomery County, where we've got more than 50,000 households who pay half their income for rent. If they have to pay the other half of their income for healthcare, I shudder to think how they're going to manage. There's also devastating impact that a new fiscal year will have on civil service rates. We've seen the dedicated employees fired after years of service through the draconian reductions in force, or RIFs. I'm glad to see that this includes temporary protections to reverse these RIFs and protect more RIFs, but that ends at the end of January, and we need to go further. Let's remember that while the shutdown complicated our situation, it was already dire. Marylanders have already been struggling to pay their bills due to soaring grocery prices, and soon it'll be higher energy costs that'll be putting strains on family budgets. Our local economy has seen an increase in unemployment, and some business owners decided it makes more sense to close their doors than to struggle on. I, like so many others, are very concerned about the Senate vote to end the shutdown. What did they get for it? Nothing's been resolved on the cost of healthcare premiums. And without that, thousands of our residents, millions across the country, are going to face enormous increases. We already have estimates from one of our nonprofit providers in the county that they would anticipate 10,000 more residents who could be added to the rolls of our county clinics. Our county clinics are the kind of last line of healthcare in the county for people who can't afford or have access to insurance. Additionally, this is nothing more than a promise to hold the future vote by mid-December on extending health insurance tax credits. This problem needed to be resolved, and should have been resolved to get the shutdown ended. And it shouldn't be kicked down the road. And my concern, it's kicked down the road, and then the Republicans will do what they want to do. No new protections for working families, no additional resources for struggling communities, nothing that would justify the harm caused to millions of people who live paycheck to paycheck is in this bill. And the worst part of all this is that the sole basis for defunding Americans who already struggle in the most costly system in the world is to give tax cuts to billionaires. That's it. It's not about efficiency, not about a better way of doing things. It's simply about working people in this country are getting something that stands in the way of billionaires paying even lower taxes than they already do. Other issues that are resolved temporarily, the rescinding of 4,000 layoff notices that went out in October, is rolled back. But the RIFs are postponed until the end of January, when RIFs may resume. Food stamps are salvaged, but only promised through September 30th. In other words, instead of reaching common ground and giving people some peace and sense of normalcy, it postpones these battles to a few months in the future. Food and healthcare should be areas of common ground, something that's a baseline for civil society, not sacrificial lambs to placate billionaires. It's a true testament to the power of money in this country that politicians are so ready to harm so many to benefit so few, particularly when those few can buy anything they want in the world. This failed compromise by the 8 Senate Democrats does not include necessary guardrails to stop the president from ignoring the law and withholding funds for important priorities. As this federal budget debate continues, we must demand the congressional leaders put forth an agreement that actually holds this administration accountable to the needs of working Americans, not just the wealthiest tycoons. On Tuesday, I joined a handful of volunteers in my office and other county departments who help deliver food to those most in need. This food distribution takes place regularly through the Christian Reformed Church in Silver Spring. We joined volunteers from a nearby synagogue, Catholic church, and school kids volunteering, and we were at this distribution center for their 2-hour window of service. Approximately 800 families were served in this time. This distribution center was one of 57 organizations throughout the county that received over $4 million recently. These funds were not from the proposed appropriation from the council, but from the $23.5 million that we allocated toward food resources in the FY26 budget. We heavily invested in food assistance network during the pandemic, but after that subsided, demand for food resources did not disappear. And this is just one example of how our community benefits from the Office of Food Systems Resilience. Last August, our office launched the MC Groceries program. It's a program that partners with Instacart that helps families who don't qualify for federal assistance, but still struggle to afford groceries in a high-cost region like ours. Over the last year, we provided more than $1 million in grocery stipends to working families, giving them the ability to shop where they want and to buy food for their families that they actually want to eat. I'm pleased that we are expanding this program from 500 to 700 households. On average, each of these households has 2 children. What's important about this program is that it addresses the SNAP gap, and the SNAP gap refers to those individuals who live in our community who make too much to get SNAP benefits, and they don't qualify for SNAP. Sorry. Our Office of Food Resilience Director, Heather Bruskin, was on our media briefing a couple of weeks ago while I was away, but I wanted to have her back to update you on where we are with SNAP benefits, as well as to talk about the expansion of MC Groceries program and how it's helping individuals in our county. So welcome back, Heather.
Well, thank you, Mr. County Executive, for having me with you this afternoon for the opportunity to speak about this important issue. I'm Heather Bruskin, the Director of the county's Office of Food Systems Resilience, and it has been a whirlwind past month regarding the impact of the federal government shutdown on nutrition programs. SNAP and WIC were fully funded with federal dollars in October, but November has been much more complicated. SNAP is typically dispersed starting on the 4th of the month, and benefits are rolled out alphabetically for the following 2 weeks. The current state of SNAP benefits in Maryland is that effective yesterday, participants with disbursement dates between the 4th and the 12th received approximately half of their typical monthly disbursement, and the remaining families will receive this partial payment on their standard disbursement date. These benefits are fully funded by the state of Maryland. It is unclear if, when, or in what amount the federal government will be contributing to the November benefit, as they've been taking court actions all the way up to the Supreme Court this past weekend to enable their non-payment of benefits during the shutdown, including from the $6 billion in federal funds that are set aside specifically for circumstances like this. The USDA notified states on Saturday that they are to halt all processing of benefits immediately, and that they risk financial penalties if they move forward with full payments of benefits. I have no indication that this has impacted the partial benefits coming to Marylanders. It's also important to note that the USDA recently notified SNAP vendors like grocery stores and farmers markets that they're prohibited from providing special food or financial support to SNAP families during the shutdown. Even when the shutdown ends, it will likely take time for the federal government to formally permit the states to move forward with benefits, and it takes typically a few weeks for benefit amounts to be calculated and activated by the processing companies. The CR that was approved by the Senate just recently provides for full reimbursement of states for federal program expenses that were covered during the shutdown, but the timing of the repayment would be unclear. In Maryland, $65 million was set aside for these partial SNAP payments. The food access challenges that are currently being experienced by our community underscore the reasons why the county executive created our office in 2022, recognizing that we need to build networks and programs at the county level to ensure stability and food access for all residents during disruptions, whether it's a pandemic, a supply chain issue, climate-related weather events, or in this case, a national political crisis. One of the innovative programs that we've recently created is MC Groceries, which leverages local funds to support county residents who struggle even in more stable economic times. In Montgomery County, at the time of the federal change in administration, and I'll just go to screen share here just to make it a little bit easier to follow along. You all can see that. Is that visible? Can you see the presentation, Lorna?
I see the graphic, yes, Heather.
Okay, great. Okay. You see the pie chart?
Yes.
Okay, great. So in Montgomery County, at the time of the federal change in administration, we had over 100,000 residents living in households earning too much to be eligible for federal assistance, but not enough to cover their basic costs of living, including food. And those are the families that are represented by that green crescent here, which we call families that fall into the SNAP gap. So these are families living paycheck to paycheck with limited savings and often high levels of debt who need to make difficult choices between rent, utilities, healthcare, and food. By stabilizing their resources for feeding their family, we can reduce the uncertainty for meeting all of their household needs so that they can be productive, healthy contributors to our economy and to our community. MC Groceries was created in 2023 through the Strategic Plan to End Childhood Hunger, which provided $1.8 million for this program to activate a partnership between Montgomery County and Instacart Health. And this is to date still the largest partnership of its kind for Instacart with the local government. OFSR worked closely with the county's DHHS to identify eligible families and enroll them in its program's first year. Eligible families have to live in Montgomery County for the duration of the program, have incomes below 400% of the federal poverty level, and that's basically the amount that the county's Department of Health and Human Services has determined as the self-sufficiency standard for county residents. And they have to have at least one child under the age of 18 that is not enrolled in SNAP. So families receive $100 per eligible child per month, up to $400 per month. Participating families shop on the Instacart platform for eligible purchases. These are approved food items only, and so you can see that highlighted here. If you were buying a banana, it indicates that that's an eligible purchase. They can choose the retailer that they would like to shop from, and so there are about 20 store banners reflecting 80 different storefronts in the county that partner with Instacart. And they can choose if they want to pick up or have the food delivered to them, and benefits are replenished every month. We know that our MC Groceries families are working families who regularly experience financial challenges and typically are not being reached by other forms of food assistance. The demographics of our participant population closely mirrors that of the county overall, with English, Spanish, and Amharic as the most common languages. Our office conducts a pre and a post survey of the first cohort, which indicated that key impacts of the program participation are a direct shift from having to use walking, public transportation, or rides with friends for food access. And instead, those families are using delivery services. They have more time to cook nutritious meals, support children with homework, and have funds available for other household expenses. As one caseworker once told me when she was talking with a family that was eligible, they said, but I've never been eligible for something before. But now I won't have to make a choice between my rent or my food costs for my family, and I can actually pay my utility bill this month. These comments that you see here as insights from program families indicate how the higher cost items that they often have to skip, like proteins and fresh fruits and vegetables, are now accessible to them through this program. The ability to choose what they're receiving also is significant to ensuring that they can serve what's familiar to them and that they know that their kids will eat. This is one of the number of new initiatives that the OFSR has implemented that connect residents at risk of hunger to local retail options. And that also includes through some other programs that are grant funded through the county government, mobile markets at healthcare sites, and partnerships with local grocery stores that are owned by county residents. And so now we're launching enrollment in the second cohort of this program of MC Groceries. by expanding to up to 150 more households. Recertification requires documentation of eligibility, and we've worked closely with our expert partners in the Department of Health and Human Services and the county government and at the Montgomery County Food Council to connect families with the program. While there are not sufficient spots to support the majority of families that would potentially be eligible and benefit, it gives us incredibly important information on how these programs work and how they benefit families. So for example, you can see fresh fruits and vegetables, the top 2 purchased items, and that participating families saw a 7% increase in employment after just the first year of program participation. And so I'm happy to answer questions or provide additional information. We also have a few program participants who have indicated that they're willing to share their story with the media. And so I just appreciate the chance to get to highlight this today, and to the county executive for his championship of fighting hunger here in the county.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. County Executive, we'll take some questions now from the members of the media. If you have any questions, I see Jenny Bamu from WAMU. Good afternoon, Jenny. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. How's it going? Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. I have 2 questions. One is on the SNAP question. So I recently heard from some people who just kind of said that they only got, like, one woman said she only got $25. She usually gets over 200. That's not even half of the normal SNAP benefits. Do you all have any insight as to what may be happening right now?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's all happening in real time. And I think the most challenging part of this is that it is difficult to directly communicate with SNAP participants. We have 68,000 residents here in the county alone that benefit from SNAP each month. And so because it's all been happening quickly, I personally don't have information, and I think we don't at the county level have information as to how the partial benefits were calculated. I think that's been part of the challenges of it going back and forth between there's full funding, there's partial funding. But what I would encourage residents who've been impacted to do is either reach out to our county's Office of Eligibility and Support Services, the navigation team, or the Montgomery County Food Council. All of these organizations have trained experts who can help families explore what benefits they have available, and we'll keep them updated as best they can on what resources are forthcoming. But I think that just underscores why the sort of piecemeal approach to trying to backfill these critical benefits is really difficult, and we can't do it without partnership from the federal government.
Thank you. And sorry, just one more question. Do you all have any numbers yet on how much this shutdown has cost Montgomery County in terms of, just all the other things that you've had to fill?
I will defer for a broader number to our leadership, but from a food perspective, I know that there are $3.5 million that will be voted on by County Council next Tuesday. And while that is a tremendous additional source of resources for the over 55 community food assistance partners that the county government supports, it still doesn't even cover 2 weeks worth of SNAP. And it also doesn't address the missed paychecks by furloughed workers and other impacted employees. So I think while we have put forth tremendous resources in addition to the $20 million that the county already puts into food assistance, it just can't fill that gap that's growing.
I can't give you a hard number on the other costs. We're still waiting to see what it is, what the impacts are going to be in terms of unemployment, and are these going to be, it's a good thing that people are going back to work, but we still don't know the full cost of employment in the county. We know we've lost, a certain number of jobs already that aren't going to be reversed by this. It's only the last 4,000 that are getting reversed. So it's costing us real money. And we're trying to, and we're more focused on making sure we can address the needs right now. That's our primary focus, and we're fortunate we've had enough reserves that we've been able to have some flexibility.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. I see Ginny Bixby from the Banner has her hand up. Good afternoon, Ginny.
Good afternoon, Lorna. Thank you so much. I have a question for Heather. Heather, I know you said that obviously the additional capacity in this program can't accommodate everybody who's facing food insecurity. is there a way that you're prioritizing certain applications? I know obviously there's criteria to qualify, but how are you making the decisions about the additional families that may get to participate?
Yeah, I appreciate that. We have been thoughtful about how broadly the program is advertised, just so as not to set unrealistic expectations of, like I said, there's 100,000 residents or more who potentially fall into that income gap. And so we're working closely with partners inside of government, particularly those that do SNAP enrollment and can identify the families whose incomes don't qualify, that they're making too much for these programs. But these families are just on the cusp of eligibility, and very quickly, I think families' incomes can change. And so I think we are looking at those families that are just on the bubble of hunger, to be able to hopefully refer them to MC Groceries, because I think that is where these resources are most important. And also encouraging families to be aware, especially those that have experienced sudden income loss, that free and reduced rate meal program applications are always accepted by MCPS. There is no cutoff date for those. So families that now find themselves maybe eligible for the first time should be submitting those applications as well, and just recognizing that there's a lot of transition, and 80% of our partners are seeing people who are seeking food assistance for the first time. So I think that's certainly a population that we're looking to support mostly as well.
Gotcha. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Jeannie. Members of the media, any additional questions for Director Bruskin this afternoon? Seoli, Hackabee, remind me, are you with Bethesda today?
Yes, Bethesda today. Yeah, so question for Heather. I spoke to some people at the Up County Hub the last time that I was there about the people who are applying for SNAP benefits now, who don't already have them but are trying to apply. And I was told that they still are taking people's information and, making sure that those applications are ready to go when the federal government is processing applications again. But I was just wondering if you have any idea how many people have applied for SNAP benefits during the shutdown and haven't had their applications processed because of it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I do not have access to that information. I think that's usually the reports on SNAP are about a month delayed, so we probably won't find out about October or November until next month. But I do know that that is absolutely true, that SNAP applications are still eligible to be submitted. I think one bright spot that we have been celebrating is that Maryland recently released their one application, which simplifies a lot of the nutrition benefits and other assistance program applications. And so our office with county funds supports 6 different organizations that are nonprofits with trusted community partnerships that provide support to residents submitting SNAP applications and navigating benefits assistance. So I know they have been hard at work, not just answering questions of current participants, but also those who are recertifying, who are potentially subject to the new work requirements and other eligibility restrictions that were in effect starting November 1st, as well as new applicants. So I haven't had a chance to see trends yet, but I know that that work hasn't slowed.
So Heather, let me just jump in. Thank you for that question, Seoli. So I can follow up with Dr. Oscar Minzer, who is our social service officer, and we can try to gain some of those numbers. We often share those numbers with Director Bruskin and all the great work that she continues to do in this space. And so we can get some preliminary data. Peter Sinclair is our public information officer, and he should be able to obtain that information. But let me just quickly go back to Jenny's question regarding the amount of SNAP benefits that went out. I can presume, and this is just my presumption, that some of those initial benefits based on Governor Moore's support may have been reduced to ensure that all receive some level of benefits. Now, we can follow up that as well. I do have a question out to Dr. Mensa just to see whether or not that is actually the case, that they are prorated, just so all folks in the state of Maryland could receive some benefits, but I need to confirm that as well. So just wanted to add that point of information as well. Thanks again, Director Bruskin.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgers. Members of the media and Seoli, thank you for your questions. Any additional questions for the director this afternoon? I am told that her PowerPoint presentation can be provided to members of the media that request it. So thank you for that, Director. We're going to transition to other topics. If you'd like to remain on this event, please do so. But if you need to depart, feel free to go. Mr. County Executive, other topics.
Heather, thank you so much for joining us. This is important, and we're trying to keep people informed about where they can get food help, because we know the needs are going to continue. We saw that this weekend, and thank you for being there with us. This week we had other fun things happen, like it got really cold, and we got a preview of winter with an Arctic temperature blast across the county, which brought our first extreme cold alerts of the year, and the first message from Alert Montgomery this season, warning users about a freeze warning that's affecting us. When the wind chill dips below freezing, the county ups its efforts to help more people get inside this year. Despite our efforts to help families experiencing homelessness, we continue to serve a high number. There are more unsheltered families now than there were in January during the annual point-in-time count. This blast of cold weather serves as a timely reminder to prepare for extreme weather conditions. And our Office of Emergency Planning and Homeland Security collaborates with every department in the county to ensure the public receives a cohesive message about how severe weather can affect them. Our county's improved its communication across departments to serve all residents better. And the winter will bring challenges for many as heating costs are on the rise. Last week in our Montgomery Update newsletter, I shared tips to help people understand how to conserve energy and potentially save money before their energy bills arrive. I want to remind people to utilize the services available through the energy companies to break up payments or find relief for their energy costs. Advance notice of emergency, even just a few minutes, can make a big difference for a person's safety. And that's why we created the Alert Montgomery system to help everyone be better prepared for the dangers that they face. Another important step is putting planning into action, and montgomerycountymd.gov/make-a-kit, that's one word, you can find information to help you and your family prepare for a range of emergencies that could impact anyone. So there are multiple ways to get assistance, and we're trying to make sure we can be as helpful as possible for people who are trying to plan in the face of possible emergencies. What can they do? We continue to do our budget forums, and we're coming to the end of them now. I moved our budget forums to the beginning of the budget process when I first became executive, and it's been very helpful in getting the information before our budgets are complete so we can incorporate some of the things we hear into the upcoming budget. This has allowed us to, I think, be more effective. I think everybody knows we can't incorporate everything, but it gives us an idea of what people are most interested in and what kind of things they want us to focus on. And so these forums have been very useful. On Monday night, I was in front of the African-American community for a budget forum focused on their needs. And this Thursday afternoon, I'll be conducting a session from Leisure World with special accommodations for older adults in Montgomery County. I'm proud of the way we've expanded our reach to connect with more people. We've scheduled 12 community conversations this year, and that doesn't include the community conversations we had about the capital budget during the summer. And with the last two discussions taking place next week, one for the Asian American Pacific Islander community and another for the Silver Spring community, the budget reflects our community's goals and values, and I hope residents make the time to take advantage of one of these two remaining opportunities to participate. I was very disappointed to see that the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee, I'm not surprised, passed the University Boulevard Corridor Plan on a vote of 2-1. Council members Friedson and Fanny Gonzalez voted to advance this plan without adequately addressing racial equity concerns raised by their own report or environmental concerns. And a huge issue, and that's at the core of this, is that this effort continues despite the false narrative that we need to rezone in order to accommodate future growth. I've been saying this for a while. I'm going to say it again. It is flat out not true. This county has already planned for more housing than we're projected to need by 2050. I don't mean randomly planning, I mean master plans, like the master plan that will eventually get built in White Flint, like the master plan that's going to be built in White Oak, where, thousands of housing units are going to be built. We are poised to build more units. Our biggest problem over the years, and this goes back more than a decade, in fact, probably 15 years, has been the slow job growth in the county is the one thing that drives down the development of housing, because people don't move to a place unless they have a job. And so if you're not producing more jobs, you're not likely to get more housing growth. And that's one of the factors that we've been dealing with. We also know that the major problem is not the building of expensive market housing. The major problem in the county is the lack of affordable housing. This plan does absolutely nothing to deal with affordable housing. In fact, on the university corridor itself, they will be displacing existing affordable housing with replacement housing that does not require replacement of affordable units. So we've already planned for more than housing than we need. This is nothing more than a giveaway to a group of developers who think that your neighborhoods should become the next greenfields. I mean, I sympathize with the lack of great greenfields for people to plop down huge developments, but Montgomery County is becoming increasingly more built out. Our master plans contain opportunities to build lots of units, and hopefully more people will take advantage of that. But this idea that if we don't go into your neighborhood, we're not going to be able to meet our future housing needs is just pure nonsense. And it's just an effort to give stuff away to developers. And I can't be more blunt than that. This is not the last of the projects they're going to do. The University Corridor Plan is the first of many. And so if you think it's over and you don't have to worry about it, because this is just University Boulevard, Connecticut Avenue, Georgia Avenue, and more, all targeted for the same kind of treatment. I want to thank Council Vice President Will Jawando for listening to the communities and raising important concerns. And I'll have more comments on this plan at a later time. This is too important to just say, oh, well. And if you're a resident of this community and you like your neighborhood, you ought to be paying attention. Another event, the DEP is starting the annual Shred event this weekend. I wanted you to share with you the details of the shredding event hosted by the county this weekend, coinciding with America Recycles Day. It takes place 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, November 15th at the Montgomery College campus in Rockville. The event is free, open to every resident in our county, regardless of where you live or your financial resources. We used to do this document shred event, but stopped during the pandemic. I'm glad to see that's returned. So if you've got a bunch of documents that you want to get rid of, paper you're never going to see again or open up again, you can get it shredded if it's the kind of information you'd like to see shredded. We can bring it up there and you can get it shredded there. Every ton of paper we keep out of a landfill or incinerator helps us move closer to our zero waste and climate goals. Recycled paper gets sent to facilities or it's turned into new products that saves trees, conserves energy, and reduces greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change. Being careful with disposing documents that have personal information is an important practice to combat identity theft. This is much better than just putting what could be important papers in the trash. People deserve a simple and responsible way to dispose of personal documents, and if residents have old tax records, bills, or files stored in the box at home, please let everybody know that this is an opportunity to dispose of them safely and responsibly. Next Saturday, the community will be out once again for the Thanksgiving Day Parade, which starts at 10 a.m. in the Silver Springs Arts and Entertainment District. The parade will begin on Ellsworth Drive and Fenton Street, and then go south on George Avenue to Silver Spring Avenue. This parade brings out the best of who we are as a community. Every year, I see the streets lined with people from end to end, supporting our high school bands, cultural dance groups, and live performers. This year's parade is going to be the first major public event that will be promoting the county's 250th anniversary. Next year, on September 6th, will mark the quincentennial since being created as a jurisdiction. So 250 years ago, we became a jurisdiction. Last weekend, I added the Montgomery County History Conference to my list of things to do, and I attended the conference at Montgomery College in Germantown. It was very well attended and was a very fact-based and honest presentation on our county's history. A lot of the focus in it is the history of African American communities in Montgomery County. One of the, some of the important things to realize is that, the Black population was a higher percentage of Montgomery County's population at the end of slavery. That population dropped to 4% in the 1960s in the early 1960s, because Black people were not able to buy or rent land in Montgomery County. So as families grew, the inability to find more places to build a home or more places to rent led many Black families to have their children have to leave the county. That ended in 67 when the covenants that were on property in Montgomery County were deemed not enforceable, and that allowed Black families and also Jewish families to move anywhere in the county they wanted to move. There were, of course, impediments between redlining by the bank and real estate agents who, for some years, continued to try to steer people to certain communities and away from others. But the change that occurred in the 1960s made possible the larger changes that occurred in the county. I want to thank and acknowledge Matt Logan, the executive director of Montgomery History, for inviting me to the event. Very well attended and very fact-based, not whitewashed history. Donald Trump, no doubt, would have been very unhappy with the event. I'm very happy with it. People need to know the history of where you live and the society you live in, and you don't know that if you try to erase history. And that's not something Montgomery County is going to be doing. Before we open questions, I'd like to give my staff an opportunity for any updates they want to share, and I'll start with our health team.
Good afternoon, Mr. County Executive. Again, it's a recurrent message that I have said over the past several weeks, but help continues to be within reach, especially through the Department of Health and Human Services with our behavioral health team. There's 988-311 in our mobile crisis center that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That number again is 240-777-4000. We encourage all who may be in need, whether or not it's for benefits or their questions about their eligibility, and there's just stressors or anxiety that they need support or just someone to talk to. Those numbers are available to folks. So I just want to reiterate that, and I will continue to reiterate that the Department of Health and Human Services is here to support our great Montgomery County residents. Dr. Ashford, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgers. Just a quick note, COVID and flu remain at seasonal lows, which is great. I personally feel like everyone I know has had a little sniffle here or there. So this is your friendly reminder that if you are sick, please stay home, cover your face, cover your mouth, wash your hands, and get vaccinated. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgers and Dr. Ashford. Members of the media, any additional questions for the county executive and or the health team? Please raise your hands. No more questions? I guess, there is Jenny. Good afternoon, Jenny. Go ahead. I was almost ready to say goodbye.
I know. I was like, let me just get this one last question in. Mark, we County Executive Mark, we've talked before about the data center proposal out in
Right.
out in the old Dickerson coal plant area. We're working on a story about kind of looking at the proposal that has the idea of putting warmer water back and using the water to cool and then putting it back into the Potomac. And this is something that some people have brought up as a concern. I had talked to some ecologists about it, and one of the things they brought up was the growth of different algae or different the changing of the habitat that exists, the aquatic life that exists there. Is this something that you all have looked into any further or talking about in any kind of way? Just curious.
This is one of the things we raised in our very first meetings with both prospective operators and the owner of the property, that they will have to deal with the water temperature, and the water is going to have to go into the stream at an acceptable temperature. It's not okay to put hot water back into the Potomac River. So we're well aware of this, and that will be one of the things that, we seek to ensure when a project goes forward that the water there is returned as it should be.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Any additional questions this afternoon? No more questions? Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.